story that's got everyone talking. Should preschool children whose parents are separated be allowed to spend the night with their fathers?
Are parents focusing on their own rights, not their children's, when they try to share custody? Child development expert Penelope Leach has certainly caused controversy this week, and she's here right now. The two passages out of the book, welcome by the way.
Well, thank you.
When a lawyer bids for his client to have his baby or toddler to stay overnight each weekend, they are both ignoring clear evidence that such overnight separations from the mother are not only usually distressing, but also potentially damaging to the brain development and secure attachment of children under about 4. Another one, when people say that it's only fair for a father and mother to share their 5-year-old daughter on alternate weeks, they mean it is fair to the adults who see her as a possession and her presence as their right, not that it's fair to the child. Now, those are some of the comments that have caused you to poke a stick into a hornet's nest. What do you say to that?
Can I start by saying, because I clearly need to, I am not in any way, shape or form against fathers or in favour of mothers. In fact, last time I was here, sitting with you two, it was because I was thought to have been too nice to fathers, because I didn't think they should be airbrushed by women out of their children's lives. Now I'm supposedly being too nice to mothers. This is not about parents. That's the whole point about writing the book. The issue of separation and divorce is seen as adult business, but it's really children's business.
But a lot of people would say it is children's business to see their fathers, to have contact with their fathers, to overnight at their father's house.
I couldn't agree more. And what has been taken so bitterly out of context is that we're talking about children's principal caregivers. Who is the person who normally takes care of them? If that's dad, then exactly the same issues apply that way round.
But
what is bad for babies and toddlers is being shuffled around backwards and forwards between two places.
But let's look at the crux. The crux of this is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it appears that you are saying, yes, the primary, let's assume that it is the mother that's the primary caregiver here.
92% of cases,
yes, so
sadly,
let's assume that is the case. So are you saying that of a weekend that the child cannot go round to the father's and stay?
Not. Absolutely
But you said if that happened, that it would affect their brain development.
I said there was a potential, and what you're quoting from is the conclusion of the book. The potential is if the relationship between father and child doesn't exist. And you do get, I'm afraid, fathers, I met one only the other day, who are saying, I'll get to know him when he comes to stay in my house. It's the wrong way round.
But if you sow the seed that it's potentially damaging towards a child, and that seed is sown in a mother's head, parent's head, they're going to think, I mean, it's quite a dangerous thing to put out there, isn't it?
What can I do? It's not my research. It's current research.
Well, Dr. Nigel Sheriff, Senior Research Fellow in the Centre for Health Research at Brighton University, said the suggestion that overnight stays should not be permitted goes against the research evidence which strongly suggests that positive father engagement in the early years leads to higher social and educational outcomes.
Absolutely right, but you've got to do it first. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of the shared parental leave, because it gives fathers more chance to get to know their babies when they're very young. But as long as we have a situation where it is mostly women, it's very hard to write about it. You can't put mother or father every time. But can I please emphasise, we're talking about the parent the child is relaxed and comfortable with, and that's usually the mother, but it can perfectly well be the father.
But how does that child get to know the other parent if it's not allowed to stay over?
The same way, well, allowed. Can I just pick you up? Where does this word allowed come from?
Oh, you said that it's going to harm their brain.
I didn't ever say allowed. There isn't an allowed.
What shall I say? Shall I say permitted?
No,
shall I say acceptable? What's the right way to say it?
It's got to be worked out between the parents, putting the child first. Listen, could I just tell you, I met last weekend in Bristol a woman who'd been in exactly this situation. She had a toddler and 2 older children. And what they did, she moved out at weekends so that the father could move into the family home and the younger children didn't have to be shipped backwards and forwards. They did that for 6 months, at the end of which, it was rough on her, but at the end of it, the father and the little children were confident of each other, and then they could go back to sharing. It's confidence in an existing relationship that we're talking about.
As you'd expect, these comments have sparked a strong reaction from fathers' groups. I'm going to read a couple of them to you now, so give you a chance to respond to them. New Fathers for Justice group said, Leach's advice sounds like absolute poison and potentially terribly damaging to children's development. Overnight stays with fathers from as early an age as possible is crucial if children are to form strong attachments with both of their parents. Ian Maxwell of the charity Families Needs of Fathers said Penelope's argument was worrying for fathers and went against common sense. The bond between fathers and children is just as important. The idea of maternal bonds being the strongest goes back to classic attachment theory, and I think we've moved on quite considerably since then. And also the involvement of fathers in their children's lives has also developed quite considerably. What would you say to that?
I would say that I absolutely agree. There is more and more evidence that if you are involved with your father from early on in your life, everything will go better for you. The list is really extraordinary. You'll do better at school, you'll have more friends, you'll make a better marriage, you're less likely to be in trouble with the police. It goes on and on. But it starts with mother because it starts in the womb. So I can't do anything about the timing. Mother does come first because she's the one who carries the baby. There is already neurological connections going on between her and the child.
While the
even
baby's
before
in your
he's
tummy, because of course there's no other way. But as
But
soon as that baby's born, it's a shared responsibility in every way.
Of course, it's a shared responsibility, but the biochemistry is still brain-related, and hopefully she's breastfeeding too. So there's
you may not be.
I said hopefully she may be breastfeeding.
The one thing we always talk about is how adaptable children are, and actually you go with what you know. And I think that children will adapt and adjust very, very well to what they know, don't they?
I don't know how to say this without sounding impolite, but you're not correct there. Children are not nearly as adaptable as babies as people like to think they are. And if I may say so, one of the reasons people want to think so is because it makes it much easier to do what feels right for parents, like 50-50. And 50-50 doesn't have to mean nights or days of the holidays. It means 50-50 concern and responsibility.
Nights for a father is that incredible moment when they're in bed and you're reading to them before they go to sleep. Those beautiful moments between a father and their child, and whatever happened between the parents, you know, that's done. But you get that moment maybe once or twice a week where you get to read to your child and talk to them before they go to sleep, to tuck them in.
Absolutely, and as long as your relationship with the child is such that that's possible, then hooray. And I actually say babies have to have one person to attach themselves to. One is absolutely necessary, this is a quote, but two is better. If your baby is attached to both parents, his or her emotional life will be the stronger.
So you use the term mutual parenting.
I use the term mutual parenting is the only good way forward that I can see. And really, Philip, you've already outlined it. What you do, I mean, it's difficult. God, I don't think it's easy. You try to separate what's happened between you and your sexual partner, your husband or whatever, from what's happened between both of you and your children. And so that you can say to the children, this adult business has nothing to do with you. It doesn't affect your relationship with Daddy or your relationship with me. As parents, we are as we were. Now, the real point about mutual parenting is it isn't enough just to go on being a good father or a good mother. You've got to help each other go on being. And the best example I know, supposing Mum forgets a child's concert and turns up late at school. Is Dad going to say, it's just like your mother, she forgot? Or is he going to say, I expect the train was late? The difference between those is the difference between mutual parenting and the getting at each other in subtle ways, the alienation, which is the worst thing you can do to a child after separation. Don't care if you're mum or your dad, but trying to alienate children from the other parent because you want to be the main one or you want the child to think of your house as home is known to be clearly the worst thing you can do.
And anyone who's going through a separation now, a divorce, and they have children, young children, what do you say to them?
Oh, absolutely, without any doubt. Tell those children that it is not their fault. It's not their responsibility. Tell them now and keep telling them. Believe me when I say, however improbable it may seem to you, they will think it was their fault. They will think they're to blame. So you want to keep telling them it's not their fault, and you keep telling them, Mummy and Daddy both love each of you and always will. The fact that we don't love each other anymore is nothing to do with it. I'm going to be without a husband or partner. That doesn't mean my children are going to be without a father.
OK, thank you very much. This is the book, It's All in Here, Family Breakdown, helping children hang on to both their parents.
We should certainly...
Both, may I emphasise.
We should certainly point out the beginning part of our interview is only a small part of that book as well.